We're fighting Drow and Myconids in a tower in the sky. Our party has been, for the past 3 sessions, 3 including this one actually, so it's not quite that bad, but we've been in fight. There was this flying tower hidden in a cloud that was attacking towns and killing the population of these little towns. And so we'd managed to get on board and discovered that it was crewed by Drow and Myconids, which are dark elves, mushroom people. We're basically fighting them now. We've sabotaged the engines, so the whole place is like it's going to blow, you know, after a suitably dramatic delay. And we have to fight our way out, or fight our way to the control room, or something. Anyway, we're fighting. We've entered into this big hollow tower shaft with all these walkways around it and a big central column that's like a warp core made of spider webs and electricity. And there's Drow and Myconids and spiders and gas spores, and oh, it's a terrible fight. We're in dire trouble. And one of our party members, we're sort of huddled together, desperately fighting. And one of our party members, Hank the Barbarian, decided it would be a good idea to go charging off on his own to fight various people on his own. It kind of made sense in the first round, but then he just stuck with it.
Well,
past when he should have been.
The fight was really hard, and the tide had started to turn. So it was like, okay, I think, you know, the party's like, we're gonna win this one, but it's like we're out of resources, and the tide's turned, but it's not like, you know, it's not like, oh yeah, just clean it up. There's still some serious fighting left to do.
We gotta see who survives in the end.
And there were snipers way up top, on top of the triangular room that jutted out. And there were snipers way up there that had been shooting the party the whole time with poison arrows, which were really annoying.
We'd been largely ignoring them because we had bigger fish to fry.
So Hank beam shotted up to them, and immediately, he jumped up there to attack them. But when he did so, the higher levels that were higher up were shrouded in mist, so you couldn't really see up there, and they couldn't see down. So he gets up to the higher levels, and up here, like down on the ground, or down at the bottom, there's like a faint kind of mist. Up here, there's like a light drizzle coming down, and he can hear thunder and lightning up in the tower, and he can see up 4 levels, and there's more Drow on platforms, the suspended magic circle platforms with the spider-webby wooden bridge things, going up, and there's another level up there, and there's a Myconid up there, and there's another level and another level, and Hank lands with the beam shot, looks up, and is like, oh crap, and they all turn and look at him. And
it's like, we've been fighting for we've been fighting for 2 sessions straight. We've expended all our resources. We're finally starting to turn the tide, and then Hank discovers, oh, that's the first half of the fight.
Now, so there was a big debate about what should happen here, and Robert, Hank's player, was really torn because it was clear to him that the best tactical move at this point was to get out of dodge, because what happened was they had just gotten an order at all costs. The Drows had just got an order at all costs, get the propulsion system back under control and hard to port. And so the Drow who noticed him up on the upper platforms didn't immediately attack him. Instead, one of them sent one of the Myconids off somewhere to do something, and they kept feverishly trying to get stuff under control. So they didn't attack him. And so the best strategy for sure is just get out of there, because as far as they're concerned, there's just one guy. We'll deal with him later, right? But Hank really wanted to go bust up those guys, and then he went up and went to hit the sniper and critically missed. And so he went up there to like at least take out one sniper, and then missed. And then he's like, no, Hank would stay. And had to stay to.
And people say that cricket is suicidal.
So he did just aggro like the 4 more levels of the tower, but they actually did not immediately attack. Instead, they were focused on
repairing
on saving the tower. So yeah.
So
at this moment,
I think, did he actually knock one of them off of there?
Eventually, he did.
Yeah.
Yes, he knocked him off with a hammer somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know how he did that, but he
had a thing that did a push attack when he hit with it.
Yeah,
it was a wolf's rend charge or something like that. Or
anyway, he smacked him off with the hammer, and the guy fell from the very top of there and plummeted into the swirling maelstrom that used to be the whatever, I don't know. It's not really the engine room, but the room that Serendipity was blowing up and just.
Then Goldstrider.
And also the Myconids, who are on that same level as the snipers, they just intentionally just jumped off into that maelstrom. So, yeah. And also the Myconids who were fighting them on that level, they walked down under the platform and walked down into that maelstrom as well. So all the Myconids went down into that maelstrom to try to save it, because there was already a bunch in there on the magic circles trying to get it under control. Because that was the best place to get it under control. Like the ones on the upper level maybe could cut power to it, but that was where the control was needed. So there was a whole flood of Myconids coming in from that tube area to try to get it under control. And all the Myconids left the fight, but the Drow that they were still fighting with stayed in the fight because they'd seen the party, and it was sort of like, well, the best way to stop this problem is just to kill the party.
Yeah.
Versus the Drow that had only seen Hank or hadn't fought the party yet were like, well, the most important thing is getting the tower under control.
So the rest of us were down below, and we were starting to actually thin out the last of the guys fighting us. How do we get the spider?
He got actually, it was interesting. Once things changed somehow when the maelstrom started, because the very next thing Serendipity did was push the spider into off the platform.
Shoved the spider into
the spider fell into the maelstrom, got sucked around the vortex, and then got forced through a hole that was too small for it, so it just exploded into legs everywhere.
Yeah, with the engines like going critical, the parts of the floor had fallen away, so there was now places we could throw stuff that would be instant death.
They things cleaned up fairly quickly in that regard.
Yeah.
It was, although there was those two acolytes left.
The guys hanging from the
hanging from the bungees.
Those were actually kind of fun. There was one. There were these two Drow. They were like sorcerers or something. They were
the low level magic guys.
They were hanging from ropes right adjacent to this big central column that was all crackling with electricity and stuff. And Cricket has an at-will push attack, and so ranged push attack. And so she just kept batting this one guy, into it, zappity, 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 zappity. I think she did it 3 times.
And then Serendipity started doing it to the other one. And actually, it was on the same round. They both, I think, got their final, and then they're just laying there smoking, hanging from their bungee cords.
And then there was that wonderful warlock assassin guy.
Who last time just missed twice after doing this big build-up.
Yeah, there's this shadow assassin guy that does this cool disappear attack with a black blade of death energy and stuff. And he had been adjacent to our party the whole time, constantly going invisible and sneak attacking. And he was utterly useless. He was just rolling critical failure after critical failure. So for the first 2 sessions of combat, he did no damage. He never hit anyone. And so we were just ignoring him. It was just like, yeah, you're a joke, buddy. Just leave us alone. Go somewhere else, you'll get hurt. So finally, the combat's winding down. All of the enemies are dead. And finally, this guy...
I think it was just that guy left.
Yeah, he was the last guy left. And he finally gets a hit. Was it a critical hit?
No, it was just a hit.
Just a regular hit. He got a good hit.
It was a strong hit on Croesus.
Good hit on
max damage.
But Croesus had an immediate reaction thingy. Was it reaction or interrupt? I don't know, whatever.
It was reaction.
That allowed him to do a counterattack. He got hit, so he can immediately do a counterattack. and he rolled a critical hit on the counter. And then he rolled the 2-hit location, and it was the neck, which is a extreme critical.
Yeah,
so
that's the best location on the crit table.
Hi, I got you.
And Croesus immediately reacts, nearly decapitated. He was like single digits extra away from being an insta kill. It was the first hit that landed on the guy in the comic because we'd been ignoring him completely. And he finally landed a blow. It's like, ha-ha!
So we decided it was a jugular hit because it wasn't quite a decapitation. But and so he disappears in a cloud of whatever. But yeah, he had a brief moment of, see, I'm useful.
And then he did his smoke bomb disappear thing, and he didn't come back after that. We don't know where he is, and we don't care.
Buried in a cloud of blood and smoke.
Yeah. So at about this point, things are wrapping up, and we figure, okay, we just might survive this. And it was at this point that the engines were getting in real bad shape. And I think some additional announcement came out that was like, all hands to the engine room or whatever like that.
Yeah, I'm not trying to come all hands to the engine room.
And so this one little side room that we'd been sort of trying to get to as we were out in the open. We didn't like being out in the open, so we'd sort of been wanting to get into this little room.
It was that triangle room, and they thought, well, maybe that's a control room, and either way, that's a place we might be able to rest.
Yeah. So the doors burst open on this thing, and it turns out it was like a clown car filled with reinforcements. this steady stream of Drow wizards. Tough guys. There were like, I don't know, there must have been 80 or 90 of them. There was a continuous line. There was not enough room on the map for it. So I figured that they were probably just messing with us, and they had a secret passage that went back, and they were just continuously looping to try and pretend there were more of them. I was going to call them out on it, like, yeah, I saw you go by before. I know you're doubling up. But
fortunately for the party, when they first came out, the ones in the front are like, "Whoa, what's up with those guys? Should we do something about them?" And they're like, "No, we need to deal with the engines first. Don't attack them if they don't attack us."
Yeah.
And Cricket heard this discussion, so this whole group just comes running down from that room and down to the spiral staircase, down to where the magic circles are to control
right next to us. They're going right past us, and so we just sort of go, okay.
They just kind of hung back so that they didn't even have to go past them, and they just.
Go on. And then as soon as the last one's passed, we're like, okay, now we can run up there.
Yeah.
So we ran up to this room, and it turned out it wasn't a control room. It was this big, crazy, stupid library thing. It was a 2-level library with such dense and crooked shelving everywhere that even though it was, I don't know, maybe 50 feet by 50 feet, in size-ish? Actually, that'd be less than that. That would be 10 squares by 10 squares.
It might have been 10 squares.
Okay, about that. Cricket was still able to get lost over and over again.
Yeah, it was sort of like your classic evil library. Well, it was pitch black because they're Drow. Although there was a few candles just to give it the creepy.
Yeah.
There were skulls and twisting corridors, and it was just a maze of freaky books and freaky library stuff.
Yeah.
So, but there was no one in it because they had all just run out to the engine room.
It must have been wall-to-wall wizards in there. I'm sure they didn't get lost because you could always just grab the guy next to you and
it was pretty full of wizards.
So anyway, as soon as we get in there, we start knocking over shelves and piling them up on top of the trapdoor that we'd used to get in there to try and delay any, if the wizards come back, it'll give us a little bit more time. Yeah. I believe Serendipity Bengal started Malora cast Wizard Lock on a pile of bookcases.
Yeah. To try to make them extra.
It sort of technically works according to the rules, but yeah, it's kind of weird. But
I thought it was fine.
It's magic.
Okay.
We can push birds out of a tree with magic.
There was kind of some debate about, like, they took a 5-minute rest, and during that they heard the commotion and like explodey, like roar of the engines calm down.
They fixed the engines.
And then there was debate of, okay, how much longer are we going to spend in here before they come to get us? Because they'd taken a 5-minute rest. And then they, Cricket and Croesus and Hank went to look for how to get out of here. And they found the stairs up. But Aurora...
I got lost.
Yeah, she got lost. But Aurora and Serendipity decided to look for some cool books.
Now, here's where I have to interject and start complaining about how crazy stupid our party is. We just barely survived this horrendous fight, largely because we had caused so much damage to the engines that most of the Drow actually didn't even fight us. We have no resources left. We've barely barricaded ourselves.
No one has dailies.
No dailies left. We're almost out of healing surges. We're on our last legs, and we know that there's way more Drow out there than we can possibly handle. And the party starts looking for loot.
They defeated those 15 wizards. They should get their loot.
So Cricket
And did it pay off?
we found a couple of ritual books and stuff.
They found...
and also that encyclopedia.
Yeah, so they found some books that were just basically gave them free, like let them learn a ritual for free. But they also, Aurora found this book, this sort of book with metal on it that had like clips to open it, some cool old book, and it was just labeled the encyclopedia.
It's an Ood encyclopedia.
So she opens, it's Ood. She opens it up, and actually it was Serendipity who opened it up because she had the reading things that let her read it, but Ood. But actually, I realized it actually would translate anyway, so it wasn't strictly necessary, but that's okay. And it just had some something about the encyclopedia and a bunch of legalese disclaimers, and something about select your topic. So she wanted to learn about
flying castles,
flying fortresses,
and how to destroy them.
So she thought of flying fortresses. She turned the page, and there's an elaborate article on Ood flying fortresses and the Ood flying towers and everything about Ood. And it became clear looking through this that it was a very elaborate encyclopedia. And of course, there were sometimes there were words that were gilded and were sort of like glistening with magical energy. And if you touch them, the magicalness would go to the corner and then glow. And then when you turn the page, that would be the article. So.
Yeah, you're grinning. You know what this is.
It's the Oodopedia.
Yep.
There was some question over who, is this reliable? Can anyone edit this? I said that those details might be found in that legalese at the beginning, but no one's looked at that yet. They didn't have time.
I just recommended looking for vandalism. Like check to see if when you look for flying towers, does it say that flying towers are gay?
Is the topic locked?
Yeah.
Active discussion page on this article.
But they haven't had time to figure out that kind of level of detail. All they know is that they have a magical encyclopedia now.
Certain party members seem to think we have time to do this, but we don't.
Yeah. So they probably spent. They spent a total of 15 minutes in that area because 5 minutes resting and 10 minutes searching around and stuff.
Yeah.
Getting lost.
And then as we're leaving, we start talking about, the Drow, they've started trying to get through those bookshelves we piled up over the track.
And there was an announcement saying, actually it might have been before, but there was an announcement saying if you find the intruders, please try to bring them to the control room alive, or take them alive.
So we know they're now gunning for us, and so we're trying to find another exit out the top. And then everyone starts talking about, well, not everyone, but a lot of them start talking about, well, we should probably set the library on fire behind us, because there's lots of books in here and stuff. We spent an inordinate amount of time discussing setting this library on fire, and I don't think we ever actually did.
No, you did.
We did?
Yeah.
Okay. So we set it on fire and left.
You're horrible people.
Yeah, well,
there was a lot of...
we were trying to destroy the whole tower. It would have taken this library out, too.
There was a lot of creepy...
Where you were before. They know a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
Where are they? Well, the library's on fire.
It's an evil library.
that library was oppressing African children.
What?
It was oppressing African children. It was an evil library.
Yeah. Alrighty.
Well, there was a lot of ood stuff in there, but there was also a lot of there's a lot of ood stuff in there, but there was also some stuff from like just information about well, they didn't really have time to look, but Drow stuff. So that there stuff to do with the Elvish Codex that was that was generally avoided because it was evil. So.
So anyway, we go out the top, and now we're in that place where the snipers were. I think that's right? We're on the roof where the snipers were. They're not here anymore, though.
They've both been killed.
Oh, I thought. Oh yeah, Hank killed both of them.
Hank killed one, then beam shot it down, and then Serendipity pulled the other one off and killed him or something.
Right. Anyway, so we get up there, and we discover that there are, excuse me, some doors in the outer wall of the tower, which is a great relief because we know that if we just continue further up the tower, there's Drow everywhere up there, and it's just going to be more of the same, and we can't survive another fight like that.
And they spotted you when you got up there.
Yeah.
So they knew you were there.
Yeah, Cricket once again completely flubbed her stealth check, even though she really is good at stealth, honest. It's one of her specialities.
That's what she'll tell you.
It's true, you can look at her character sheet. Anyway, so there were a couple of doors in the outside wall, 2 of them. And we checked them quickly, what was on the other side of the doors. One was a stairwell going up.
What's out there?
And the other was, there was a stairway that went down, was it? Or I think there was...
Sorry, I was paying attention to food. What?
Yeah. One was the warm stairwell that went up, and then the other was a stairway that went downwards, right?
Both staircases went up.
Both went up, okay.
One was switchbacky, it was the one you took, and it was warm.
Yeah.
The other one was just straight up for a long time.
Yeah. So we took the switchbacky straight up one, and it was very hot in there. And we come out top on this sort of projecting promontory thing sticking out the side of the outside of the tower. And we go outside, and it's like in the middle of a rainstorm.
Yeah, it's a raging storm outside, as you'd expect. Roaring storm, hugely windy, pouring rain, and ahead of them, steam is just rising from something as the rain is hitting it.
Because hanging out the side of the tower is this huge vat of liquid fire. And previously, what we'd seen when this flying tower was destroying villages, they would dump streams of fire from above on them somehow. And this is how.
How's everything here so far?
Good, thank you.
They've got this fire machine that can pour liquid fire. And so, here once again, I have to shake my head at the party. Again, we're on our last legs, we're fleeing from the Drow. We immediately are like, oh, now we can destroy the tower. We have a vat of liquid fire. And in fairness, if we could figure out some way to dump this liquid fire inside the tower instead of outside, it probably would do very well.
I guess the party got off on this idea for a while. Actually, Robin pointed out that discussion probably wouldn't have actually happened because what happened was I was like, you guys are rough, because I showed, because they could see the outside of the tower now, right? And I showed that off to, they were on this promontory, and then on one side there was this like extra tower structure that was much smaller but had like a bunch of little towers on it, and on the other side there was a side tower that was smaller but like ran the whole length of the tower. And I was like, you're roughly here, and they got the idea that, like, because I was just very vague.
He pointed a bit high on the tower relative to where
I was just kind of like roughly giving an idea, right? And they got the idea that this thing of liquid fire was above the wooden roofs of the other side tower, and they got this idea that they could use a shadow bridge to pour it in. And they were talking about this thing, and I was like, what are they talking about? I don't get it.
Yeah.
And then finally they explained it to me, and I was like, oh, you're not high enough to be able to do that. And this was very disappointing because they had this whole plan. But
Yeah.
Ron pointed out that that mistake wouldn't have happened in character because it would have been obvious.
Yeah.
So
The other thing we discussed was trying to punch a hole in the wall of the vat. You know, basically do the Dwarf Fortress Unleash Magma thing. Cricket, of course, volunteered to swing the pickaxe. But we just didn't have the tools to make a hole in heavy masonry wall in the time that we would have had because, you know, pursuit is hot on our heels. But yeah, the party is very, very easy to forget that they are in desperate, dire straits.
But there was some discussion over, okay, what are we going to do now? I did point out that when the liquid fire was falling on the town, it was falling at 2 different levels. So on the exact opposite side of the tower, there's going to be another one of these liquid fire thingies, and it'll either be higher or lower.
Maybe.
And if it's higher, they could potentially pull off their pour liquid fire into the tower plan.
Could do.
There's also the top of. They can see the top of the whole tower, and it's this big, sort of like forks into 4 platforms up there. So they could theoretically go up there with the beam shot. There's also the side tower that's like smaller, and it has crenellations. So crenellations means that you probably can walk up there, which means there's probably a way in over there. Yeah. So those are sort of they can't really go back the way they came, probably. But those are the main things that they're considering as options.
And we could also go down to the ground because it's becoming increasingly apparent that this tower has nothing to do with that box.
Hey, you up there. I spared you. I killed the other guy. Stop firing at me! Ow! Ooh. Okay, that one hurts. Ooh, ow. Ow. Okay, that doesn't... Oh. Oh, I can't move properly. Ow.
I'm so tired. I don't know what I can do. Just these weak attacks. I mean, they're a little bit effective. I can push them, this guy hanging, into the pillar of electricity, spiderwebby stuff. Okay. Need a break. Where are these drow wizards coming from? They just keep coming. They don't see me. No, they see me. They don't care. Oh, that's worrying. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a lot of them. Yikes.
You know, sometimes people ask me if it's hard to hold the line when the party's always running around with its arms in the air. And you know, in a fight, Hank charges the archers, Serendipity vanishes and appears somewhere else, and Aurora is busy trying to be friends with everybody. You know what I always say? When they ask me these questions, I say, you aren't real, and I don't have to listen to you because you're just voices in my head, okay? You're just voices in my head, and then I usually count the steps of my old patrols at Greybridge, and that calms me down a lot, yeah.
Dear Diary, today I found another book. I'm very excited. It's something called an encyclopedia, and it's about the oud. I'm very excited because I'm really, really hoping that it'll have the recipes to those delicious foods that we found when we were in that oud place. Oh, it would be so neat to find someone who could cook. I wonder if Cricket's good at cooking. Probably she is. Oh, of course she is. Never mind. maybe if there's recipes in here, she and I could have like an oud cooking day, and we could make up these things, and it will be just so delicious. That would be so much fun. And then we could feed them to Hank. Sadly, if I die, I don't think I get to wake up under the tree with the book. So I really hope we get out of here. I think we will. I'm feeling much better about the situation. I think everything will be just fine.
I think that my owners are overly optimistic. We just barely managed to survive that fight, and we encountered, like, twice or 3 times as many more drow as the ones that very nearly killed us. We just barely managed to get away. And we go straight to talking about how we're going to destroy this castle and still save the day. I think we should probably still run. We have lucked out and we have the opportunity to run. I think we should do that. Specifically, they should do that. Yes, we should run.